The business value of information technology, or IT. In a rapidly changing and competitive business environment, companies today demand that IT investments demonstrate business value through measurable results. Measurements are based on objective data, which in this presentation will describe the relationship between IT investment and the organization's revenue. Introduction. The importance of evaluating the value of IT is to avoid the failure of information technology projects. In the past, Fortune 500 companies have seen million-dollar losses due to the problems of IT, whether it be poor management decision-making or poor execution. For instance, according to the U.S. World News, Kmart lost $130 million in incompatible software, and Nike lost $400 million in a flawed IT investment that caused inventory mistakes affecting Nike's overall profits. The problem does not fall upon decision makers, but instead with the evaluating process itself. The current approach to evaluating the business value of IT elicits speculation and error, oftentimes overvaluing an IT investment. Therefore, a more concrete alternative in determining whether there is IT benefit is needed. This alternative process grounded more on objective data and relies less on assumptions. Throughout this presentation, we will focus on a thorough and more accurate new approach by looking at VISTA. The system and the organization. The Veterans Health Information Systems and Technology Architecture, VISTA for short, is an information system centered around electronic health records, used throughout the United States Department of Veteran Affairs medical system, also known as the Veterans Health Administration, or VHA. VISTA is an automated data processing system within the VA's medical facilities that electronically utilize clinical and administrative data. VISTA's information system includes computerized order entry, barcode medication administration, electronic prescribing, and clinical guidelines. According to the Department of Veterans Affairs, by 2001, the VHA was the largest single medical system in the United States, providing care to over 4 million veterans, employing 180,000 medical personnel, and operating 163 hospitals, over 800 clinics, and 135 nursing homes. These numbers have increased in the year 2009. By providing electronic health records capability, VISTA is one of the most widely used electronic health record systems in the world. All data was derived from the Department of Veterans Affairs website. The data. For the analysis of IT investment, we will look at 3 sets of data: the cost of the IT, the use of IT, and its revenue. Data is usually collected over 3 time periods. Smaller time periods have the benefit of being more relevant and timely, but are usually not long enough to accurately portray the IT advantage. There are times where organizations have to implement IT in which they are not familiar with or have no concrete data. Data must then be collected by other organizations or cross-sectionally. In this case study, we use VISTA's information from the past 10 years provided on October 16, 2007 from the Office of Information. Methods of analysis. To portray the information more clearly, scatter diagrams are used from Table 1 to show the correlations between the variables and hopefully the proof of causality. The variables again are investment, use, and revenue. In examining causation, we want to see if IT investment led to the use of IT and thus lower cost per patients, or if the lower cost per patients led to the IT investment and increased use. In the first scatter chart, we look at the IT budget and cost per patient. The y-axis shows the investment in IT, and the x-axis shows the lower cost per patient index. We see a positive correlation. In the second scatter chart, we look at the relationship between the cost per patient on the y-axis and the record use in VISTA as shown on the x-axis. There is a positive correlation between the two, meaning that as more money is invested in information technology, the use of it increases as well. In the third and final scatter chart, we show the relationship between the record use on the y-axis and IT budget on the x-axis. Again, we see a positive correlation. It is important to note, however, that although the three graphs have positive correlations, this does not prove causation. Results. To verify causation. So the previous scatter charts that were derived from the data on Table 1 have brought us now to the data on Table 2. IT use, IT cost, and revenues are all positively correlated, but this does not suffice in determining a company's business value in IT. We know that when correlation is measured on a 0 to 1 scale, the closer the coefficient is to 0, the higher the correlation, the more significant the comparison, and perhaps causation. We seek to determine if revenue led to use, which led to investment, or if alternatively, investment led to use, which led to revenue. Formulas. By taking the square root of each scatter chart using the numbers in this table, we arrive at the correlations of three variables. The formulas and corresponding calculation show us that PCR is the correlation between cost of IT and revenue. PCU is the correlation between cost of IT and use of IT. PUR is the correlation between use of IT and the organization's revenue. In the second formula, if the reverse is true, then growth led to more money being available for IT expansion, which affected use of IT. There are two possible scenarios, and the calculation results are highlighted in red. The first calculation resulted in 0.459, describing that IT was the cause for the lower cost per patient. In the second calculation, the result is in red. It is negative 0.116, which suggests that causation is derived from the cost per patient index. Although neither calculation gave us an exact answer of 0, proving causation, the lower cost per patient was the closest to 0, with a calculation of negative 0.116. This proves the likelihood that the lower cost per patient index is the reason for IT investment. Discussion. The meaning of this method is based on two sets of assumptions. Before return on investment can be calculated. First, IT cost, IT use, and organization's revenue must have high correlations, indicating strong associations. Second, the correlations must be 0. And under these conditions, one can then infer that IT investment has led to the use, and the use of IT has led to increase in revenue. When these assumptions are met, the calculation of the rate of investment is meaningful. There are limitations, however. The proposed method of evaluation is limited in three ways. First, data is not always available to us. It sometimes must be assumed or borrowed from another organization. This can lead to inaccurate results. Second, the time intervals may not always be representative of business value on IT. Longer sequences should be assessed, but this can be timely or infeasible. The third limitation is that the allocation of budgets to specific cost and revenue centers may differ. For instance, operating costs or capital investments may be ambiguous. Such variations will cause differences in the results. Ultimately, however, this method of evaluation provides more objective data and is less speculative than current processes.